So I got this crazy idea the other day that I was going to build my own chief investment officer for my advisory business instead of hiring one. And I'm not actually looking to hire anyone at all. I just wanted to see what could happen if I did do that. So I jumped onto Anthropic's Claude AI, which I'd never used before. So I got a little bit familiar and then I just jumped in with my first prompt. I didn't even know where I wanted to go with it. I just said, if you were going to be a chief investment officer, what inputs would you need? What outputs would you make? And what kind of workflows would you have? And then I just went from there. So then Claude offered up some different outputs like market research, portfolio construction, due diligence and manager research, even compliance support. What was most interesting to me was the fact that Claude actually took a step back and said, this is what I can do, but this is what I can't do. You're going to still have to make the investment decisions yourself, manage the client relationships. You'll have final say on compliance. So it was kind of cool that it was that self-aware. So after we kicked it off, I was like, okay, I'm going to go with a redesign of all my model portfolios and just sort of see where it takes me. And I gave it a pretty open-ended prompt and it came back with like 20 questions. Some of it was really basic, but some stuff was really nuanced too. Basically saying, this is what I need to know in order to build out your model portfolios. So I answer all the questions and it comes back with a couple spreadsheets, some PDFs backing up the calculations and the reasoning behind what it did. It even gave me some Python files to run and validate what it had come up with. So I had to brush up on that and then, figure out if it was doing things right, which amazingly it was for the most part. So I was able to independently verify what it was doing. It made some great stuff, scenario analyses, and it did it in like 4 or 5 minutes. It was incredible. But when I dug into the details, there were some things that left me scratching my head. It made a couple of recommendations where I was basically unsure of like, why are you doing this instead of doing something else? Like, why these investments and not these other ones? And that was when I got my first really interesting feedback. Was I sort of challenged Claude and it basically came back and said, well, this is the industry standard for asset allocation, which is not accurate. Everyone's got a different opinion in this industry. Everyone comes to different conclusions. And the fact that it just sort of made a blanket statement like that was the first real weak point that I saw there. So then I came back and I fed it my actual current model portfolios. And I said, okay, why don't you tweak these instead of starting from scratch and give me your opinion on it? So it rebuilt everything and it came back with a similar output in terms of the documents and the Python files. And I was actually really impressed with what it came back with. And then here's where things got off the rails. I added some tactical overlays to the model and I said, okay, now rebuild it again, Claude. And instead of rebuilding it, it just produced the exact same result. And I said, okay, this isn't what I wanted. You got to incorporate this. And then it came back again, exact same result as before. So that was kind of crazy to me that if you think about a human chief investment officer, if they produced all this work in 5 minutes instead of over the course of a month, you'd be so impressed. But if you asked a simple rewrite and you came back not once, but twice with the exact same material, you'd probably be thinking, maybe this person has got a screw loose. Anyway, the third time, I gave it very specific prompting, and it came back with what I would expect. Ultimately, I would say any CIO's job is safe for now. But what's really cool is how this could supplement the chief investment officer role and become a way to iterate things faster and get some results that maybe you wouldn't have thought of. So I feel good about where AI can support us and take us to places we might not be able to go on our own. And that could certainly be with speed of implementation on analyzing portfolios, stress testing. But when it comes to making human decisions and looking at risk, balancing the emotional weight of a liquidity event, incorporating family dynamics, it's just not there yet. I would say that AI makes human judgment more valuable than ever.